Hello, YouTube. This is BUB'S Comics coming at you with the No Faces Comic Chat. And let's get a look at our fine panel today. We've got, hell's bells. We got all kinds of great people in chat today. We got John's Comics with Kids. Hello, Johnny boy.
Hey, Bub. Thanks for having me, man.
Glad to have you. And with us, as always, for the first time, we got, no, Steve, no faces. All right, we're waiting on Steve to get his face off camera.
One faces chat.
Almost. Oh, okay. Oh, it's no good. It's no good. All right, well, with us, as always, we got Roger Metarog saying, greetings, everyone.
Greetings, everyone. Great to be here, as usual.
All right. Steve's still working out his camera there, so it's no faces there, Steve. Just point it on anything but yourself. He's talking to us, but we can't hear him. Just put it on anything but yourself, Steve.
Stone Cold the rule. He's a rule breaker, you know.
Yeah,
you clearly.
Okay.
Counterculturist.
All right, I think we're good now. We're gonna take a look at some laundry. Oh, he's out.
I'm just blocking you. Hold on.
All right. Well, while Steve works on the technical difficulties, gets that all worked out.
I can't even function.
He's slaying.
Wow.
Wow. We'll get back to him. In the meantime, let's shout out some of our early tailgaters here. We had Unruly Simeon in the house. Thank you. Glad to be here. Mr. Gretzky, 9966. No, it can't be. It's hockey. We got Rob Boswell, my fellow Kentuckian. We got Mark Knapp, 68. Welcome. Jambo Comics in the house. What's happening? I tell you what's happening. We're having them their technical difficulties of the stone cold variety. And we've got Area 51. Welcome, Werewolf by Lunchtime. Good to see you, buddy. Coming hailing all the way from across the world. Although technically, if you turn left at Albuquerque, he's closer than going all across the world. We got Werewolf by Lunchtime, hailing from Denver, Australia. We got the Comic Collector. Hey, what's going on? He had a pretty good AOK the other day. I think from he got one from Man Cave Comic, I believe. We got Comic Mag Musings. Very nice. We assume the mag is for. So we got a crotch shot for Steve. Thank you for that there, Steve. I appreciate it. Technically, that is not a face. It's not a face. Yep, you're in good shape. You got the Gray Man. Wait, what happened to the Gray? We got the Gray Man. We got Jackson Roy Kirk in the house. We got Chris Barrett. Finally, we can start the show, as they say. Let's see. So we're glad everyone could make it. Steve's almost here. We're just a little bit. Yep, that's about right. And we'll see see what we can get done. So we're all here trying to make it work. Sorry for all the technical difficulties today, but we'll get it worked out. And so glad you all could make it. All right, we got the Headless Horseman. That'll probably do. I think that's going to work. Everybody in agreement on that? Yeah,
that'll work.
I think. All right.
We got Yondu and Rocket on there. That's good for me.
Oh, Steve, what are you doing to us? Now's not the time to tie your shoes.
That's hilarious.
Well done, guys.
Who knew this was going to be so hard?
Yeah, I should have came a little earlier.
Bub's got the best GIFs, I swear.
In the house, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Glad you could all make it. And Roger, since you're always on the show, and want to go ahead and shout out what today's team name is, I'm going to throw it over to John. John, what's today's team name? Just if you can remember.
Team name?
Yes, I know this is your first time watching the show.
The Resurrected Clones.
Yes.
Sorry. The Resurrected Clones. I was like, there's a team? I don't remember a team. Yes.
Yes. Today we are the Resurrected Clones. So today we're going to be talking about characters who have died and come back in comics. So we're excited about that. or at least I am. That's how that works.
I love this idea because honestly, it's one of the most like quintessentially comic book things is for characters to die and return. It's a never-ending cycle. It's almost like a joke at this point that like every character has probably died and come back.
It really is. I think that I put the wrong book up. But anyway, I'll start it off. I'll put out a quick one, and I hope one of you guys have the Resurrection because I don't. So first one I'll show off is Elektra. So this is Daredevil 181. At one time, when I first got this book, I already had my Hulk 181. I have to say that per every stream, per contract with Marvel. So I'm sorry about that. But I have to, I already had my Hulk 181. So I thought, you know what? I should get after I got Daredevil 181, I was like, hey, that's a key too. I should get all the 181s that are out there. And then I realized there's only like 2 others that are also keys. So that I stopped doing that. But anyway, here's an example. So in this issue, of course, it says Bullseye versus Elektra. 1 wins, 1 dies.
It's such a great issue. I mean,
isn't it fantastic?
I'm obviously a Daredevil fan, so I pulled that. So I got you on the Resurrection. I got everything you need.
Good, because I need that. So you can just send it to my PO box.
Sure.
Hold on, let me get this ready. But there you go. That's the death of Elektra, and of course, as you all know, she does not stay dead.
No.
So, John, do you have her? But she dies very ceremoniously.
Well, and I would include this cover like as part of that. This is just the following issue when he's holding the gravestone, saying goodbye, and then you were talking about the Elektra return. What a great cover for a Resurrected! And that was one of the first things I thought of. Of course, is this Miller storyline, which is just amazing, absolutely phenomenal,
and a true resurrection. Like
absolutely,
it's the same character because we'll get into that a little bit, the distinctions between resurrections. But
this one, the one I'm showing, is definitely not a resurrection.
Exactly.
This one is me cheating. I had to, my favorite character death of all time is Gwen Stacy, and I just absolutely love this storyline. And what I had peeking in the background was my Resurrection, which you could. There she is. There's the Resurrection. She's back. Nice. She's come back from another dimension to reclaim her life. Yes, there is a clone storyline. I agree. Yeah, there is that one which she has her clone, but.
Spider-Man 144, I want to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere like that. Yeah, where she has the leg cover.
Exactly.
Yeah, the leg cover. Yeah.
So I mean, I cheated to throw these up here, but I knew that if I didn't, I would be ashamed.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Yeah, but the Green Goblin, that's a legit, right?
There you go. Yeah, now he legitimately dies in this issue, but I don't know the issue when he returns. I don't remember the issue when he resurrects.
Yeah. Roger, do you know which one he comes back in?
No, it was way after I stopped collecting comics.
I'll check right now, see if I can find it.
Do you think you have it and just don't know where it's at, or
maybe?
All right, we had Steve for a second, and he dropped out again. So,
Steve, come on back, buddy.
Hopefully, he'll come back. I didn't kick him out. He just keeps dropping out. So very cool. Roger, you got a book to show off at us?
Well, yeah, I kind of came at a different angle, right? But
of course you did.
I figure you guys would come up with the actual deaths and resurrections. So, but I came up with characters that die, but they didn't really, but they thought, the society thought they did, and so. Like for example, Reed Richards, right? He has been dead at least 3 or 4 times that I can remember.
At least, for sure.
I mean, and either he's been teleported, or he's been transferred into another body, or he's been shunted into another dimension. But he always turns up alive at some point.
I love that cover.
Oh, so
that's one of my favorite Galactus covers.
And the half death, half Galactus.
And I can't remember that. What's her name? That
Nova.
Is it Nova? Okay, I wanted to say Nova.
Frankie Ray, but she,
Nova's Dick Rider. It's not anybody else.
So there are certain characters that sort of they have that kind of reputation where something happens to them and then they come back. I have a couple more I'm going to talk about later, but Reed Richards is one that I know for a fact. I can think of 3 right off the top of my head, but I think there's probably a lot more than that, because obviously I didn't collect way in the Silver Age and then beyond the Copper Age. So that is a character like, when the search for Reed Richards after he was whipped away by the Shi'ar to stand trial for saving Galactus. They thought he was dead there, but Susan Richards didn't believe it, and she finally tracked him down. And then in 381, he was thought to be dead, and he came back as the Impossible Man or whatever that guy was.
Yeah.
So so that's one of those characters.
Probably Impossible Man or something like that.
It wasn't the Impossible Man. I can't think of the guy's name. But anyway, it was an alter ego that he had used in the past to sort of spur the Fantastic Four, and he came back actually. He brushed some like Grecian for Men in his hair. And something like that.
Yeah, he took those gray bars out, and then nobody recognized him.
There you go. The gray temples laying left right here.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Steve. We're waiting for him to resurrect. Resurrect. Somebody resurrect Steve.
I'm praying for you, man. I'm praying for you.
Goodness gracious.
Come back, please.
I'm gonna take all the softball ones here because that's my job as host. So obviously, the most famous death issue has got to be Superman 75.
Yeah.
I knew somebody would bring that. I did not bring it to the game.
It had to be me.
Yeah.
And I had to go early because if somebody brought it out before me, I had to run out of issues. So,
but I mean, it's the iconic one, right?
Absolutely. But does anyone have the Return of Superman?
I probably do.
I do somewhere.
Exactly, because who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody got it out, right?
I have it somewhere, but I didn't get it out. Yeah.
Nobody had that one ready because the death of Superman, this is one of those great moments in comics that did not take anyone by surprise. The death of Gwen Stacy was a shock. That's an absolute shock. It was a reader moment,
Sure.
But the death of Superman was a media moment. Everybody knew it was coming. Everybody was ready for it, and now here it is. So, and it changed a lot. Look, here's Scoon talking about started his collection. So good for you. That's a way to start.
Yeah. A lot of people said that. You're right. That was a mass media. I mean, there was actually people, there were actually newscasters at the comic shop when I was there, the local newscasters, because it was such a big deal. And they didn't interview me, but they interviewed the owner. And I remember I was like, this is amazing.
They didn't interview you, Roger?
No, I listen, I've always liked to be like behind the scenes. So they asked me if I wanted to be one of the guys interviewed. I was like, no.
I don't know which issue is the official return issue.
Well, that's what people are asking here. Now,
I got this one.
To me, that's the one.
This
to
one?
me, that's the return.
Yeah.
Look, see, I do have it. In your face, Chris Barrett. I own these books.
They can be debated.
He's been throwing shade at me ever since my amazing interview with Donnie Cates. So.
Oh, nice.
It was hilarious. Donnie couldn't hear or see me, so I had to leave the show, and somebody else took over.
Oh, that stinks.
It was hilarious. The worst tech support issue ever. And, but thankfully, he could see and hear Comics Misexplained. So this was just yesterday.
And that was from the what was it called? Mainframe. MNF and Comic-Con. Man, you must still be exhausted from that.
I am a little bit. The armband is right here, buddy. Look, the armband's on the back.
Wow.
There you go.
Yes, with goodies. So I got one bag and one with all the goodies. Although I don't know that I'd ever actually wear it unless I wanted to go cosplaying as like a 1990s comic book nerd, and then I could wear that. All the little bins, all the little armbands.
Produce the armband. Yeah.
I love it.
Chris Barrett is a card and a half.
That's hilarious. Oh man.
Well,
that's it. I mean, honestly, between Elektra and Superman, those are the two that I thought of instantly when you brought this idea up. Ooh, look at the Marvel supervillain team up you got there. What's that?
Oh,
Roger?
yeah, because Roger, he's like, I knew everyone was going to pull out books, so that were based on topic. So I went ahead and pulled out books that aren't based on topic, but I can argue my way at the topic. Just give me another 35 minutes, and you will be.
This is on topic.
Here we go. All right. So who dies in this one?
Well, listen. As we know, in comic books.
Oh, my mistake. My mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. As we know in comic books, deaths, it's like John said, they're just everywhere. They're ethereal. They don't exist essentially.
They're ubiquitous.
They're ubiquitous, correct. They're everywhere. So you have to look at it from a certain point of view, right? So in this one, the Shroud, essentially he really defeats Dr. Doom. He has his armor, he has to take it off, and he's thrown off a cliff, and he looks down there, and he's swept away. And of course, he's dead. The Latveria has all the people are coming out and they're cheering and all this. And then of course he comes back in the very next issue where he's found by Atlanteans, and they nurse him back to health for some reason. And and the Circus of Crime is in there. So again, this is Bronze Age kind of goofiness, right? But Dr. Doom has died and come back so many different times, right? And here's another one, right?
He dies at the end of that in
Secret Wars. Well, we don't know. He just disappears, and they postulate that he was disintegrated, but of course not. Comes back.
He does kill everybody else, and they
come back. Yeah, that's right. And
one issue, basically.
Yeah, in one issue, he gets all that godlike power, and anyway. Let's not spoil it, just in case, because it's on auction.
Yeah,
but
you gotta watch those 25-year-old spoilers.
Spoil that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I was. Somebody was like, "Hey, don't tell me about this." I was just happened in the Bronze Age.
Who said that?
Somebody asked in a comment.
There's always a commenter somewhere. There's always. Yeah.
And in Fantastic Four, many a time, he was thought like in Fantastic Four 200, supposedly he totally was, went insane. He was in a rubber room or whatever, and he had transferred his body into a younger version. This guy, there's no way they're ever going to kill Dr. Doom. He's too good a villain. And we know that, at some level of our intelligence, we know Marvel is not going to kill off one of their big guys, but still, we're like, oh yeah, he's dead.
I love Paulo Costa says, Dr. Doom never died. It was always a Doombot.
Yeah, right. It was either a Doombot, or it was because he could one of his little known powers, he could transfer, because his mother was a witch or whatever, he could transfer his soul into other bodies and so forth. That it was one of those plot devices that come up and say, hey, we need something to bring him back. Oh well, let's transfer his soul into somebody else. That kind of thing.
Stop spoiling the death of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, sorry about that, Chief.
Every trade of that story is called The Death of Gwen Stacy. Like there's no hinting at that story. It's like on the title.
Boom, smack right in your face.
Oh my God.
What do you got up there, John?
Steve, come back. Steve, come back.
Well, I have.
I did. I put that I sent him a message. I told Steve, come back. Steve, come back. And I guess he's done. He's had enough of this. If he can't show his crotch or his face, he's out. That's it. There's no more. There's no more.
Oh my God.
Oh well.
Come back, Steve. I want to talk to you.
He was supposed to be on last week too, and his internet crapped out.
Oh man.
Man, we're having trouble. It's not meant for him to be on the show until maybe next week. I don't know. I hope he still shows up for this one. Surely he had tons of books pulled. I know John did. What do you got, John?
So this, I got these lovely Cho covers for the Civil War II storyline. I am missing one issue, but I just snagged it before the show went live. I had a deal in on the last issue. But the one I really liked, the important one, is issue 3, which is then the cover for issue 4, is the arrow going through the head of Bruce Banner in this issue of Civil War II is when Hawkeye somehow finds the perfect arrow to kill Bruce Banner. And because Bruce asked him to, right?
Right.
And then, of course, you have, was just a couple months later, we got, he's still alive. The Immortal Hulk comes back, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they even had him, like, I don't know, it was almost Jesus, like, coming out of the cave, right? Like, moving the rock aside. as a horrible beast. But then you have the great cover, which you actually had the original cover a second ago, Bub. The Hulk, Immortal Hulk #1 cover, where he's actually climbing out of the grave. Yeah,
that's the old 105 that they homage for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a resurrection where, for me, it fits this subject perfectly in a modern sense. You have the character clearly dead, but then rising from the grave, as it were.
Right.
I really love I'm a Civil War fan, both 1 and 2. I enjoy both of those, and I just love these fun covers that Cho made for this run. The sort of boxing flyers, it looks like something you'd see, back in the day when you'd go to a boxing match or something.
I love it. That's really cool. I didn't know Cho did those. Yeah,
so you get there's a full run of them where they just highlight different matchups. Jane Foster versus Medusa, different matchups that would occur. But usually the cover, so like this is the Hulk versus Hawkeye one, but he's already dead at this point. this is the trial where Clint Barton's on trial in this issue. He pulls the trigger in the issue 3, which is the Falcon versus Spider-Man cover one. But I think these covers are just freaking cool. And I'm super excited. I got the last one, and for a steal. So that one's coming next week.
Had you? How many are there total in the set?
8. It's an 8-issue mini.
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
I like it. You like it? I know you like it. You like it, Roger?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Easy there, Roger. That's the wrong clip.
No. I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful with you, Bub, because you throw those curveballs at me.
Oh, wow.
Goodness gracious. Yes. Well, let's see, Roger.
People say that's not a resurrection, obviously, because Immortal Hulk can never die, but he always seems to die and come back. Like
if you don't know he's immortal until he dies, so
right.
I guess
until he does it the first time.
Right. So he's almost dead, barely dead.
Yeah.
He's mostly dead.
Yeah, something. I think we've got it. So, what do you think, Roger? What are you going to regale us with your quasi death and resurrection item here?
Okay. Well, since John opened the door to the Hulk, right?
There you go.
I figured that's an old legal thing. So I figured I'd talk about not the Immortal Hulk, but the regular old Hulk, but still very tough Hulk. This guy had been dead. Off the top of my head, I can think of like 12 times, but probably many more, right? But this one is the one that I kind of thought was pretty much fun, right? Because what happens is that Ant-Man shrinks him, then he becomes Bruce Banner, right? And then he gets stepped on. Boom! Flattened. He's gone, dead. And if you don't think that, look what Ant-Man is saying. Who murdered Robert Bruce Banner? Because the guy just takes off, But of course, he did not die. He was shrunk down into the micro world, and he came back a few issues later.
Storyline where he's in the micro world for a few issues. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Hulk in the micro world. Oh my gosh.
And then, I thought those, he was got there in a way that everybody else thought he was dead. Well, not always, but the times that I remember. Oh, he's dead. He's never coming back. He was shrunk out of existence. That kind of thing. And this one here is another one. He fights the Cobalt Man way up above in the stratosphere, and the Cobalt Man explodes. I mean, just it shakes the whole area. So, atoms have been scattered. Oh, no. He ends up finding himself back in the here with the Inhumans in Attilan. So again, they always think you would think by the 10th or 11th time they wouldn't keep assuming he's dead, but they do. They just keep assuming. Even General Thunderbolt Ross in the 190s or whatever thought he was dead. He comes back again. So anyway, even before he was immortal, John, he was immortal.
Yes,
constantly dying.
Yeah, he was constantly dying and coming back. So they just didn't call him that, but he was effectively immortal.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
I love it. Just wrong. Like you still got the Hulk. What? I can't remember. Is it? What's the X-Men issue where Thunderbird dies?
95.
Yes, 95.
95.
All right, let's see if I can pull that one real quick.
He lasted 1.5 issues.
Yeah, that was a short. And Sunfire left right after too. So I mean, like two.
Well, he left. He didn't die.
Well, yeah, true, but
I think there's a distinction there, Roger.
Well, no, but he wasn't. Listen, not really, because you know how those goes. When somebody leaves and dies, it's almost like the same thing nowadays. They come back.
Yeah. Well, here's X-Men 95, the death of Thunderbird. And it says, again, they're always teasing this, right? So it says on the cover, not a hoax, not a dream. Like, why would it be a dream? But anyway, not a hoax, not a dream. This issue, an X-Man dies. Who could it be? Oh, no. It could be any one of them. Probably not him. Look, he's winning the fight. It can't be him, but it's him.
And is this the second issue in a row? I think no Wolverine is not even on the cover. Like they were like, we don't like this little Canadian guy.
Well, they put him over there.
That doesn't count. They even covered half of his face almost.
Yeah. So doing Cyclops' head and Storm's hair.
It's hilarious.
Left of him.
The first 3 issues as an X-Man, and he's only on one of the covers.
Well, we talked about this, didn't we, Bub? That at first they didn't really. I mean, they weren't sure that he was going to be a big hit, so they didn't push him forward all that much until.
They had to wait till the sales numbers came back.
Until
Canada,
until the burn era, really. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, there you go. There's another death. And I don't know that he got resurrected, did he?
I don't know. I know his son obviously came along, but or was it his brother? God, was his brother?
I think it was his brother. Yeah, his brother. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of something we can talk about too. So sometimes we've discussed true resurrections, but then sometimes just the character gets their mantle taken up, right?
Right.
Someone else pretends, if you will, or to me, like when Wolverine dies, and I'll pull that in a minute. But when Wolverine dies, you have Dakin. Dakin takes over for him for a while, and then you have X-23 cosplaying as him for a couple of volumes. So,
well, then they also threw in Old Man Logan for a little bit too.
They did. Yep. So there's a lot of that crap going on. Just saying.
Yep.
So his brother, he had a brother.
Yeah, his brother. James Proudstar, is that?
They were all Proud Stars, weren't they?
Yeah, they're Proud Stars, right?
Yeah, resurrected in name only. So there you go. So he's out. Sorry, gone and forgotten.
I got an actual classic resurrection here. One of my favorites, of course. He dead. You voted. He gone. You killed him.
There he is.
You can blame yourself for the death of Jason Todd, people. You did it. You called. I know you all did. And then, of course, the return as the Red Hood. I love this. I love both storylines, honestly. The death of Robin as well as the return in the Red Hood. I think both of these stories are worthy of the storyline of Jason Todd. I think they're just absolutely awesome. And honestly, they're the only good stories of Jason Todd that I've ever read. I like.
Is here?
He's my least favorite Robin, probably. He's right there with Tim Drake, but I just these are the two stories to read. You read Death in the Family, you read the Red Hood trade, and you're good. Like you don't need any of the rest of that. You're good. Like that's it. I feel like they have yet to do much beyond that. But I love these two storylines, and it feels like a pure resurrection to me. But whatever. Better as the Red. I think he's totally better as the Red Hood. I agree. I haven't read very many issues beyond the first big trade, and I haven't really found much that I really enjoyed. Did anyone misdial Magic Lasso? I did not Magic Lasso, but I'll test that theory out later.
I don't know. I feel like Roger was probably Roger. What were you doing at that time? Were you calling in for the death of Robin?
Well, I didn't, because it cost money to dial that 900, and that would have cost me a couple of comics. So you know my priorities. So trust me,
man.
I have. If you know me at all, you know there's no way I would have dialed in for that number.
I don't know. I thought maybe you went to a neighbor's house or something.
Right.
Use their long distance.
Charge it.
Yeah.
Here's their death. Wolverine.
Great cover.
Yeah.
Look at that.
The lenticular is so cool.
Lost on Comigories because no one could find the graveyard in it. He's clearly walking. I mean, he's the Grim Reaper carrying a dead body. Where do you think that happens? You think this is going down at the self-checkout at Walmart? I don't think so.
It's a metaphor, Bob. It's a metaphor.
Yes. Well, yeah, I guess we don't have enough sophisticates in the chat on the Comigories, but we'll deal with that on another channel. There you go. Death of Wolverine number 4 of 4. Even though they all say Death of Wolverine, he actually does die in this one. So
they did 12 issues of Dead Man Logan finally dying. So
that's ridiculous.
They can string those deaths out. I'll tell you, they really
can.
Really saw that one coming. Somebody could have warned him. I'm just saying. And
this is one where his resurrection is fuzzy. You have him come back, obviously, but where's the full return of Wolverine? It's like in an Infinity Watch book or some other crap like that.
Out too. It was all that return of Wolverine, and yeah, I don't even know where he pops back into continuity again.
Yeah. I think it's an Infinity Watch, but they don't really explain why he's there, and then it takes much longer to figure out why he's still alive or back alive. And then they explain it in the Return of Wolverine, but he's already been back in other titles for 2 months by the time they get around to that. So it really, honestly, and I'm a huge Wolverine fan, and I think they should have left him dead. If they were going to bring him back, as crappy as they did, and pretty much changes his character. I hate the way he's written and the way he acts in the new Wolverine series. I hate the way he's written and the way that he acts in the Hickman X-Men run.
You don't like bisexual Wolverine? It's not.
No, I don't. I think that he definitely would have
bisexual Wolverine.
Yeah, they've got him kissing Cyclops. Or he's got if he can't have Jean Grey, he's going to settle for the last one in Jean Grey, and it's just terrible.
It's hilarious.
It's absolutely terrible. And I think that they really did just take the character. It's not how he would react with these people, the way that they're acting. I think it was a perfect opportunity to bring Wolverine back and have him brought back and have a side mission Wolverine, which is always my favorite, outside of the team, doing his own thing. I agree with that completely. But he should have walked out and said, "You guys are nuts." And Chuck's finally lost his mind. I'm out of here.
Did they? I mean, and I didn't read the Return of Wolverine closely enough. Did they explain exactly how he came back? Like, what was
they
it?
They explained how he escaped the tomb and stuff. Yes, they explain it, but it's so bad and so pointless. And those first few stories are just absolutely. They look like crap. They read like crap, and they just why bring him if you didn't have a new story to tell? Why bring him back at all? Because they really brought him back and told the same old story, which I've seen. If you've read that, The Long Night, that is like an adaptation of a podcast or something stupid like that. And anyway, the point is that they brought him back with that same old story. 100 people are dead, and we think Wolverine did it. Oh, God. So we're all supposed to be afraid of Wolverine again because he's off the chain again. He's murdering again. Give me a break.
Gray Man, I was just making a joke. It is not confirmed that Wolverine is Metro or Bi or whatever. It's more this amazing subtext in Hickman's storyline that if you read it really closely and then choose to let your mind go, there are definitely hints at that in the storyline, but obviously, no, that's not an out-and-out fact or anything like that. It's just it's hinted so overtly, I guess you'd say. Yeah. It feels pretty much clear that that's what Hickman is trying to hint at, but never going to actually go out and say that.
No, I don't think that they will, but I think it's very clear how they're To me, it was clear.
I find it hilarious.
Reading it myself, it was clear because they kind of set the whole scene up that way. You've got, they're like cooking or something in the kitchen, and you've got Cyclops, and he's bending over to get like a can of beans or something from the lower cupboard, and you got Wolverine sitting there with a beer bottle at the counter, and he pops all his claws, like ching, both hands pops out, and then you hear one last snikt. And you don't really know where that came from, but we assume it was from under the counter.
That's
so it's just horrible. I don't recommend it to anybody.
Well, I know you don't. I'm still really enjoying it, but I understand the frustration absolutely.
Magic Lasso, did Dazzler ever die? Well, I mean, I think she went out with Disco, but I'm not sure.
But
she didn't die. She just faded away. Just like Disco.
Fair enough.
What do you got there, Raj? What's that?
What are you trying to regale us with?
Well, if you know me, you know I'm a huge Warlock fan. So you knew this was going to be coming up here at some point. The real hero behind defeating Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet is none other than Adam Warlock. When he comes out of the soul gem he was entrapped in and turned the big Titan to stone and then faded away into the moonlight, essentially. But he did come back in Silver Surfer. Somebody remind me, 34 or something.
So I don't know.
I can't remember.
Return of Warlock. Him, you say?
Him. Warlock. the guy from the Cocoon. What else? Paragon, whatever he was called. No, that
Wilford Brimley.
That was she. No, he didn't have a mustache. No.
I will say the benefit of this, I'm getting used to this faceless chat. I can kind of walk around with my headset on and I can still do the show. Nobody knows what I'm doing.
Yeah, if we hear a third claw pop, we're out, man.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to mute you. What about, and I thought for sure somebody was going to bring this one up, but what about...
The night's still young. Night's still young.
All right, well, what do you got? John's walking around the living room looking for something.
No, I went with Warlock. That was my guy, the real hero.
I was grabbing this book, which isn't all. It all happens in one kind of an issue, but this Spider-Man issue from the 90s. I really think this is one of the best, if not the best, Infinity Gauntlet tie-in issue. And in the issue, Spidey rescues a kid from a burning building and basically dies. And because Thanos is currently wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, then that leaves his death in Thanos' hands. And there's this whole sort of battle over his soul between Thanos and Death. And Death is kind of taunting Thanos about it. And in the end, she kind of wins, and Thanos lets his soul return to his body, and he comes back to life again.
Oh, what a nice guy.
It's a killer issue. It's a great standalone issue, but it's all just psychological and Spidey trying to understand his tiny little part to play in these big cosmic storylines. But it's a great standalone issue. Right at the obviously McFarlane had kind of moved on at this point from the run, but I think it's still a really great standalone storyline.
Fantastic. That's a great choice.
I've never read that, John. I'll give it a shot.
If you got Marvel Unlimited, just read it. It's just again one really great story, and if you know where it fits in the idea of just in general of Infinity Gauntlet, then it also makes nice sense with Thanos finally having all 5 gems and what's it mean.
Now, John, Roger didn't pay 10 cents to have a personal conversation with the editor at DC to kill Robin. You think he's springing for Marvel Unlimited digital comics every month?
Fair point. Dollar. It's also a dollar bin book.
Yeah, I'll find that when the LCS opens. It's in their quarter bin, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Or their 50-cent bin, I think it is.
Yeah. And I'm just waiting to get to her.
Okay. Yep.
She's
about time.
So
I do have the Resurrection at least.
I have so many. Honestly, if ever there was a character who epitomizes BUB'S concept here.
That's her. Yeah.
It's Jean Grey, right? I mean, this issue, she's died and already come back. Here we are in issue 101. Like, she's already died and come back.
Although we didn't know that at the time.
We did not. And Scott's already saying, why is this happening already? He's already just drowning in this ridiculous. So I have just a ton of issues tying in with this. Obviously, the real like sort of official stuff occurs here. With the Dark Phoenix and the death of Jean in the storyline here, and again the information backstory kind of stuff, and then Resurrection wise, I have those as well. I got these classic books as well.
Oh, wow.
The Cocoon when the Avengers find it, and the FF when they actually open it, and we see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And an homage to 101 there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great.
I actually really like that Cocoon cover.
It's a. I see this book all the time, and I always grab it because I feel like it's just this minor little 50-cent or 25-cent key.
I just like how the dude's swimming with a cape on. I think that's
Black Knight.
I didn't even notice that before.
Black Knight.
He swims with a cape, and that takes
was
his shield underwater because you don't need both hands to swim. So it's just
and that was kind of a red herring they threw in because they made it look kind of like the Cocoon that Warlock came out of initially.
Yeah, definitely.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Warlock's," and then it was Jean Grey.
I love Scott Neely's. That's so good.
Don't do a drinking game of Phoenix time. You'll die of alcohol poisoning. Good one. Good point.
Oh man.
Good point. And let's not get into Madeline Pryor or anything, who was her clone or whatever. And,
definitely.
Yeah.
So these are I love these two. I actually really enjoyed these reads, Avengers and Fantastic Four. The bringing of Jean Grey back because she has no memory here. They go, Reed has to take her through getting her memory back. So it goes. That's a great question, Scott. It goes Avengers. They find the Cocoon. FF. They open it and she comes out. And then issue 1 of X Factor, you kind of see the team reuniting.
Yeah,
the original team, and the whole first issue of X Factor, which is I think the first few issues of X Factor are actually a fun read. You get the team choosing to reform, and Scott being torn between new family, old family, and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely a throwback to the original series of X-Men.
Yeah, and I like how they even copied the dress she had on when she passed away in the space shuttle.
Oh, look, you got it too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they bring back the costume that she
bring back the costume and everything.
But I love that they did it here too. That they have this cover where she's clearly wearing the original Marvel Girl costume. When in the issue before this one with the Pieta, she's got the Dark Phoenix costume on. I love all the style. Again, it's ridiculous, and she's clearly the character that comes back over again.
Well, she is the Phoenix, so the Phoenix again was resurrected.
Right, it's in her name.
It's in her name, so flew too close to the sun, the whole bit. So
right.
Anyway, so good stuff, John. Good stuff.
Yeah,
love it.
Wait, I was holding off on that one. That was my. Yeah. That was my it.
I knew that was coming when you posted today. On Instagram about your collection. I said this guy's bringing 101, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
When I saw him posting all that, I was like, "This is going to be great." I said, "I don't know if we're going to be able to fit all these in an hour and 15-minute format, but
hey, we flew through this.
We're flying through. Of course, we don't have Stone Cold Steve's crotch to slow us down.
Right. That would have taken up a lot of time.
We were hoping for it, yeah.
I don't want to be on with Steve.
I know. Oh, he's killing me. I hope maybe we'll have him back next week if he's capable, if he can get his issues worked out. So, all right, Roger, are you finally? I know Roger he's big on giving into the chat. So, hey, James got Harris in the house. We've got TJ, Slabdragon, Watson. Got all kinds of great people have been showing up. Gretzky's still here. Scott's still here. Pope Cerebus, the Foist, as you're supposed to say it. I'm pretty sure the Foist. I know we had Bad Dad in here at 320. So thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. And let's see Stone Cold.
Let's see Stone Cold, yeah.
So I know that Roger's going to give in to the DC fanboys and throw us some DC stuff as they've been clamoring in the chat. Did you not see my Death of Superman?
I did Robin.
Look in here.
I did Robin.
I did Robin.
You did Robin.
They want Green Lantern and stuff, So. Yeah, Phoenix and Icarus. Yeah,
Flash. I didn't even know Flash ever died. So
I don't know.
In the Crisis 8. In
Crisis 8. Crisis. I forget about Crisis. I
Supergirl died in 7. Yeah.
All right, what do you got there, Roger?
Yeah, and Grayman is right. Icarus is the one who flew too close to the sun and was burnt, but the Phoenix rose again. So that was the segue there.
Yes.
Anyway,
what's wrong with you? That's it. You're out of the chat, Gray Man.
No. He was right though. He's right.
All right, you're back in the chat, Gray Man. Welcome.
Okay,
welcome.
so again,
you can be our fourth turtle today since Steve dropped out. Gray Man's the fourth turtle.
There we go. Gray Man knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Jabroni's in the. Just when we did the turtle, Jabroni comes into the.
Yeah, comic Jabroni's in the house.
Look at that. Yeah. How appropriate is that? Okay, so DC Resurrections, they're also all over the place now. But Metal Men, again, they're not alive, of course, so they're not resurrected technically, but they were destroyed almost every single issue. I mean, really, if you read through this, every issue, maybe one or two survive, and then Doc Magnus, puts them back together again. Look at all the different death covers here, headless covers, death on an operating table with a blowtorch about to open her up, and of course, an actual grave site here with mourners in the background and the whole bit. All right. By the way, these are actually the Metal Men. They faked their death here, but
so anyway, actually death metal. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Don't quit your day job.
Too late. They already fired.
Can't blame him for that one. So yeah, but that running joke in Metal Men was that they were destroyed, and again, because they were not technically alive, they were essentially androids with a responsometer, but they would come back. A responsometer. That's what made them more act human-like.
I'm looking that up real quick.
Input. I need input. All right.
That was great. All right. The response spitter. Gotcha.
Responsometer. So they would die and they would come back. And that was kind of a running joke. I mean, Ross Andrew did a lot of these, and Mike Esposito. And Robert Kanigher vetted them over a weekend. There's great history behind the Metal Men and look into it. So I really enjoyed them because they were sort of they never really had a clear victory. They usually just sort of lucked into it, but they would come back and do it again, next month. So that's the kind of death and resurrection that I'm talking about with the Metal Men.
I love it. Well, I always know that if we're about 45 minutes into the show and we haven't heard from the Metal Men, we'll get a nice shot. We'll get a perfect upshot of the Metal Men. It's his favorite thing to focus on.
Oh boy!
All right, oh yeah, now this is classic. See, now this was okay.
So this breaks the rule, right?
A great one, because to me, this is yet another category of death and resurrection, and that will be the alternate timeline.
Exactly.
Death. So, definitely. And that's like a snuff. I mean, that whole thing, it's just a mutant rub out.
Everybody dies.
Wolverine tries to have with Cyclops in the new Hickman run either, but a completely different rub out. Okay. All right, what do you got there? Show it.
Yeah, so this is 141, 142, classic storyline Days of Future Past, where you get a glimpse into a future where clearly a lot of X-Men dying, and in this issue, literally telling you everybody dies. Like, people just be ready for that. Everybody not going to make it.
Yeah, so subtle.
Yeah, right. But hey, you got to have you got to sell to your market here. But yeah, like you're saying, timeline shifting to resurrect characters is obviously rule breaking in the sense that we're not classically resurrecting somebody from the grave, but we are saving lives much as they do in like Infinity Gauntlet, where Thanos snaps the universe away and we get the glove back and we snap everybody back again. So yeah, I mean, any chance to show X-Men books in the 100s, you're gonna probably see those.
It's a good possibility that those could show up here and there.
So I pulled these two out, but I kept them aside thinking, they don't really qualify. Like, this is more accurate.
Oh, they qualify. Right? They qualify because you got to broaden it out a little bit. Like, for instance, I was thinking about the type of, and I don't have the issue, but I'm pretty sure in the early 60s, Batman's Alfred dies.
Yeah.
And then because of the popularity of the television show in which they used the character Alfred, of course, they brought him back in the comics. And that was a complete, they didn't explain, they didn't do a big resurrection. Nobody drove by the grave and put a magic rock on it. Nothing. He just walks in.
He just shows up.
Page of that comic, he just walks in. We're like, oh, Alfred's back. And he looks like the guy on the TV show.
I'm back, suckers.
That's great stuff.
Oh my god!
So, he didn't get truly resurrected, but they just brought the character back like it never happened, like he never died.
He also transformed from a pudgy guy to a thin guy in like 2 issues.
Yeah, because he looked more like the Penguin.
Yeah, yeah. And then he said, "Oh, I was in an exercise program," and he's like dropped 100 pounds, like in 2 issues.
Yeah. Well, death becomes him. He's doing all right.
You got to give the people what they want.
You got to give people what they want. Apparently, obese butlers are on the outs. So,
well, it explains the popularity of this show. No faces. Give the people what they want.
Yeah,
I don't want to see our faces.
I guess every time we say running gag or a running joke, we're supposed to be showing this. That's a new one on me. But Roger's not a huge fan of that one. So,
for me,
yes and no, yes and no, yes and no.
On a loop.
Yeah. I get the viewership up. Just run that for an hour straight. Oh, good stuff. What do you got? Let's see. That was just me yakking. You got any more, John? You want to throw at it?
That was all the ones I pulled for this activity. I'm trying to think if there were any others.
Well,
I knew you would get Superman. I trusted that other people would get Superman, so I didn't even draw that one. I didn't even grab that one.
Well, I've got one that I was hoping you guys would pull because this book I don't own.
Okay.
But it's one that I'd like to own, and that is the death of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I have it.
I don't have that graphic novel. No, I don't have it.
I have it, but he didn't come back.
I know.
Right. But he does in the character comes back, but he doesn't.
Yeah. In name, yes. That's true.
In name, he gets his name gets resurrected.
I'll pull it out. I'll pull it up,
Roger. It's down to the 0 hour. We lost Steve.
I'll pull it up. Hold on, I'll get it.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Hey, watch. Yeah, we're worried about everybody right now. Everybody's just disappearing, and poor Steve got pummeled in his own collection. What's going on?
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Hey, there it is. Let's. Scott's blocking the page there. All right, here we go.
As promised.
Yeah.
There it is. And actually, he actually caught cancer in his own title from Nitro, and then. In this issue, Starlin, it kind of happened abruptly because it wasn't really talked about until this issue that he had caught the cancer and so forth. But well done. When your enemies come to pay tribute to you, that it was so touching. You got the scrolls and mortal enemies coming and pay tribute because even though he, obviously he made a lot of trouble for them. He was always honorable about it. He was always fair. He wouldn't, didn't commit murder or anything like that. He always did things based on his sense of morality and justice, and they appreciated that. No matter what they did, Reed Richards, the greatest minds, tried to come up with a cure. They couldn't do it. He passed away, and never has come back.
And it's got that great Mike Piazza cover there.
That's Pieta cover.
What?
Pieta. It's based on the image of Mary and Jesus, Mary holding Jesus after he had passed away after being crucified on Mount Golgotha. So that's what that comes from.
Yeah, that's what I said, Roger.
Okay.
It's totally what I said. It's the Mike Piazza with the Golgotha mountains. That's pretty close.
Now, TJ says that he did come back, that FF went back in time and brought him to the present.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what TJ says. I believe him.
Well, you can't argue with TJ Slab Dragon Watson because he's a Slab Dragon, and he put it in his title. He didn't used to. He was just TJ Watson before, wasn't he? He added Slab Dragon a couple of years ago.
I'm pretty sure he had. Yeah, because all he has is slabs apparently. So
yeah, he wasn't the one that fell under a mountain of them one time, was he? That was somebody else. I think that was Chad RCG. He like turned around.
Yeah, he fell. Yeah, he fell. Yeah,
man,
the slabs hit him in the head.
I think he slipped and fell. Yeah.
What a way to go.
Yeah,
yeah, really.
Yeah, what a way to go. That's probably the way TJ would want to go. If I'm going to go, I want to go under my slabs.
Right, take him with me.
Not the slab in a mortuary or in a graveyard, but
not that kind of slab.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask. So there's the storyline where Rogue takes all of the life force and power from Carol Danvers.
Right.
She technically dies there and then comes back later, right? Isn't that what happens? She's Miss Marvel. No. She's killed, and then she comes back later and has her powers again. I don't know.
No, she's not killed. Her all her powers and her memories and everything were stripped from her. But I don't think she physically died. Just her whole essence essentially died, but the body was still alive.
Okay. And then later she just got him back. I don't remember that. So I gotta research some of that. Carol Danvers has a very odd.
Because then you have the binary.
Right.
Period,
oh, right.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
I actually like that costume pretty well. The binary.
Binary's cool. I dig that. I posted my copies of that today on my Instagram. I love that cover. It's so good.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. I got love for it.
Yeah, I'd be down for her to go that outfit and bring her into an X-Men movie. I'd be down.
Yeah, definitely. And just swap her over from the Avengers and just kind of change it. And they can even recast it. Would be fine with me. I'm not bandwagoning here.
Bob is reinventing the whole thing. He's like, you know what? We'll rename her. We'll just do.
I got no problem with it. What was the girl that played her? Hard Maple. What was her name? She was some kind of piece of dead wood. I don't remember the actress that played her, but I tell you, she looks great in talk shows. So I blame wardrobe. I really do. I think that the costume, if they had gave her a better costume, like more close to the Miss Marvel costume or something like that, I think it would have been a lot better. So
I think in general, that's a character who's had some pretty awesome costumes over the course of her.
Hey, I even like the old, Skrull Green or whatever it was, not Skrull, Kree.
At the beginning of the movie, you mean?
Well, not just that, but the original Captain Marvel.
Oh, sure. In the when it was actually Captain
Marvel,
yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah, I even like that one.
Yeah, then he transitioned to the more cosmic kind. This one, the more cosmic costume, and then he got the Nega bands later, and then of course Ms. Marvel sort of initially had her bare midriff costume patterned after him, and then she went to the one with the what do you call those high boots, the thigh boots or whatever, and the sash,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Death by Slavalanche.
That's a good one.
That's
what a way to go.
She's obnoxious. Yeah. Well, some people go for that. There, Scott. They do. Some people got to get angry before they can fall in love. Not me, but some people are into that. Oh well, they just got to watch it all burn. So anyway, well, what do you think, guys? We ended early. We got any more books?
I got nothing. Yeah,
I got nothing. Audrey got a bus to catch. Wait. Now what do you got here?
I only wanted to talk about a few Spider-Man villains that, villains, like Hammerhead. He was supposedly eradicated in an explosion. He comes back as a ghost and then was reformed somewhere in here. I forgot where. And then Molten Man is another one who's every time I read a story of him and Spider-Man, he dies and then he comes back. It's like, oh well, this is a good one. He falls into a river or something, and then he comes back later on, and guess what saved him? Pollution saved him.
Well, at least it worked for somebody.
At least it worked for somebody. Now, imagine if it was now in Corona days, he'd be dead for sure. There's no pollution and no cars or anything. So,
well, yeah, I hadn't thought of villains. I would say Carnage would fit into that too, then, right? Because he had the storyline where Sentry took him into outer space and killed him, and then now we've got Absolute Carnage where he's resurrecting. So he would fit into it then, wouldn't he?
yeah, I guess he's sort of like what transformed, I guess, in a sense. But yeah, that
we'll take it.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take it. Yeah.
I don't have either of those issues, but you know.
Yeah, I don't either, but we'll take it. Yeah, and that's happened where now that's sort of maybe a topic for another time where an event occurred and the hero or the character kind of upscaled or metamorphed into another character.
Right.
So to either survive or because it was the plot line thought that it was necessary or whatnot. Like I guess Immortal Hulk might be a sort of a possible example of that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a topic for another day. Write that down in your notes there, bud.
Oh, Roger, when you're talking, I never stop listening. So I've got everything. I'm working a lot over here, but I'm always paying attention.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Don't worry, I got it on lock. So that's good. Well, you got any more you want to throw at us, Roger? Because John's been out for 10 minutes. I've been forcing him to grab other comics in his collection.
I've been scrounging.
Well, I didn't want to dominate the show, so I only brought out a certain amount because I thought we would have 4 people.
I did too.
I didn't pull that much more stuff, but I mean, there's so many more examples. Iron Man was thought to have been killed back in the Tales to Astonish days, and I think Happy Hogan took over the armor and he got blasted by Mandarin. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on. I mean, it's a recurring trope in comics, obviously.
Right.
And it's very few characters. Golly, I find it hard to think of any long-running character that at one point or another wasn't thought to be deceased. So, you could probably look at any kind of, Superman was the same thing. Many times he was shunned into the Phantom Zone and whatever, and they thought he was dead, and et cetera, et cetera. So.
Well, and several people have mentioned the Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Parallax storyline.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's a good one.
He was resurrected as an evil villain, so that's different too.
Yep.
But it was still Hal Jordan.
Right, but then they kill him then too and bring him back again, and I can't keep track.
I don't know. It's DC.
We need Gray Man in here for that for those kind of nuances.
TJ somewhere. It's none of you have the Return of Flash or Green Lantern. You need to do a DC version of the show next week. You see, I told you. You're right on that, Gray Man. I tell you, I was hurting. I never know what the topic is going to be. We've been doing this show for 2 years. I'm running out of topics, you guys, and we haven't done the same one twice exactly yet. So we're trying. But there's 2 right there. There's what Gray Man said is a DC version of Deaths and Resurrections, because apparently this didn't scratch his itch for him. And then whatever Metarog suggested, which I don't recall at the moment, but I will find out.
Check your notes.
I'm sure it was fantastic.
Check your notes.
The Jackson Roy Kirk says Parallax Spectre back again. Yeah, that's right. The progression for Hal Jordan. Right. I know he becomes the Spectre, and then that's the storyline. I think isn't it Jeff Johns' storyline where they kind of fix him. He's not the Spectre anymore, and he goes back to being the Green Lantern again, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. There's another one we did. There's another one I should have pulled out, but I didn't. Is Captain America in Civil War? When he was killed in Civil War, and he came back.
But didn't he came right back, didn't he?
Yeah, it was pretty soon after. Yeah. Pretty soon after. Yeah. Good. That's when I didn't pull it. I actually had thought to do it, and for whatever reason, I think that was one of the ones that I thought everybody would have, so I didn't pull it. But
you forgot.
I didn't forget. I mean, I guess you could say I forget. I thought somebody else would have brought it up, so I didn't want to bring it up.
For a show that loves Marvel, there's a lot of DC gifts in this.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Finally, somebody gets it. It's all about the balance.
Right.
The gifts are DC, the topics are Marvel. That's the way we roll.
Well, we're always trying to blow your mind on this show, just as hard as we can. Get it done.
You've got those I don't know how you get those things out so quick. You've got a quick trigger finger. You'd be one of those what do you call the guys in the westerns who would duel gunslinger. You'd be a gunslinger back in the formative days of the West.
Ooh, the formative days, not those lackluster beginning or ending days. We're talking the top of the bell curve here, folks.
Yeah.
We're talking high noon all day.
Law and Justice were everybody had sidearms. So if you broke into a house, good luck. They would be lead flying. Okay.
Here in Kentucky, it's about the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have things really changed that much?
Yeah, the police just patrol to pick up bodies out of the yard. That's about it.
Wow.
There's a lawlessness over
Wonder Woman never died. Well, yes and no. I believe that at one point she was depowered to the point
that's not dying. Come on, Roger.
Well, but I mean, the character essentially died. It was totally different. I mean, semantics perhaps, but I mean, it's total. If you put that Wonder Woman versus the Silver Age or the post, like the George Perez Wonder Woman, you wouldn't recognize her. She was totally different. She was, she had martial arts, and she was more of an Emma Peel.
I was going to say they took her powers away for a story for a good while on. So she changed a ton from her creation to today.
Yeah, that's true. But really, anytime you're looking at the Perez run, just don't. That's my that's my unpopular opinion. Oh well, I think we've done it again, folks. Roger's got to go park Actually, Roger, what's that? What is that? Roger's got somebody at the door. He's
no.
This is about the time he always needs to leave. No.
I would definitely answer that.
That's definitely not the dog. That's definitely not the dog.
All right.
Nope.
All right. Well,
she's not on all fours. That's the first clue right there.
Give me a minute. I'll have that queued up. We'll be locked and loaded in just a minute. Don't worry about it.
Forget I mentioned that. I forgot who I'm talking to here.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, John, what have you got coming up on them there, John's Comics with Kids channel? Don't be alarmed, folks. There's only kids once a week. It's mostly just John.
It's mostly the comics.
Yeah.
Mostly, where's my finger on that? It's mostly right there. It's not so much that. I'm on the Boy Red Sevens channel tonight. It's Comic Gories, man. In about an hour and a half, I'm going to be over there for Comic Gories. So that's my big thing of this week. I'm trying to take it easy after the weekend.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. You must be absolutely exhausted from bringing. Really, if you guys got a chance to be part of that Mainframe Comic-Con this past weekend, it was really something how everyone at the Comic Core and other, you had Chuck and just all these great YouTubers came together and brought to the community together. They bonded to bring to the community all the parts of a convention that they normally complain about. All the lack of comics, the creators and the artists and the actors and the celebrities talking about themselves in infinitum. They brought it all together for the greatest show.
Standing in line and waiting for a signature.
It was great.
The technology to work.
Kind of meeting someone, but then not meeting someone. It was great.
That's hilarious.
But really, you must be.
Barrett says it's just John trying to interview people. Man, I'll tell you the best parts though were like you're saying, the community people. Because I talked with Delphia and Kachung for like 40 minutes about cosplay, and it was amazing. I was a blast. I love those guys. And like you said, I was seeing people like TiVo and Reggie Collects and. There's a bunch of great YouTube, and I met a bunch of new YouTubers I hadn't heard of before. John Suntress over at the Word Balloon podcast was somebody I'd never heard of before, and I don't listen to a lot of podcasters, but he's been doing it he said about he's been doing radio and then podcasting for about 15 years, and he does these deep dive interviews with creators and writers and stuff. And he came on, and it was just to pick his brain for a little bit was amazing. He was awesome. So that was what I mean. Honestly, the highlights were other community members that I got to learn about.
Every time someone mentioned that guy from Word Bubbles podcast, I thought about your segment on the greatest comic show ever on what is it, Tuesdays or Wednesdays, or when does that show come on?
The Wednesday show,
show where you guys play with the word bubbles and show them off. I thought about that every time. I was like, God, they need to quit saying that. And the other thing that kills me about that segment is that you guys constantly call the little guy there pushing the cart, which I've not seen the show that's from.
We should call him BUB'S, right?
You
Bubs.
do often. Yeah. You're like, oh, and there's BUB'S and there's BUB'S. I'm like, they're talking to me, but I know that they're not because I only watch it on replay.
Because they should know that you're just Bub.
Yeah, well, I know, but I gave up on that about a month ago.
I've been trying to be good about it. I tried.
It's all right. I'm just glad to be thought of.
You can think of Bub as a non-possessive. Okay, he's Bub, not BUB'S. He's not of Bub. He is Bub. Okay.
Yeah, people don't call me Johns.
Yeah,
no, they don't. Surely not.
No, they call you King Joffrey and all that, but no, they don't call you Johns. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is that my wife, she can't get the difference between John and JD straight. So every time I say, well, like the other day, JD had called me and I was like, so JD calls me. She was like, really? She's like, well, that's the guy with like the crown, right? On Comigories. I'm like, no, that's John. And then I'll say, so, she's like, she always wants to know, like, what are you watching? I'm like, oh, I'm watching it's who's on it? John's on it. She's like, oh, the guy with the wig on the Hunt show, on the wrestling show. That guy.
There's a lot of those Johns out there, man. There's a lot of all about the toilet right now. When you put the S on the end, then it's a toilet. All those Johns.
Fantastic. All right, Roger, what do you got going? So everybody catch John and without his kids, but with comics.
Right.
Comigories tonight on Matt, the Boy Who Had Seven's channel. Everybody check that out.
I'll be there.
And of course, he's always floating around on Dem Dare Comic Cores. And he's I think you pretty much hit the Comic Cores pretty hard, don't you?
I do that Wednesday show for them, and then that's pretty much it. Sometimes I'll jump in if they need help with something, but so I try to be flexible. But that's about it. We are reading. I know you guys are Marvel fans. We're reading AF-15 for book club on Wednesday night. So we're gonna go back. We're not going to read all the crappy other stories that
just
the
Spider-Man.
Yeah, why bother with that?
Just the 2 chapters on Spidey, but we're going to go really old school and read AF-15. So if anybody wants to bust out their collector's editions or their
you mean the actual, I can't bust out my actual AF-15
unslab. We
told
Bobby he had to open up both of his AF-15 slabs to read them this week.
I'm gonna leave it in the yellow label, signed by Stan Lee,
right?
And I'll just leave it, and Ditko and Kirby. Who else would have signed it? Maybe Len Wein, because every time I go somewhere he was there. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll read along with that. That sounds like fun.
Honestly, I haven't read it in a really long time, so I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how it's aged even further.
Yeah, it was
not well. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, it was already the outfits alone. All right, Roger, what do you got coming up on your channel and/or any other channel that you'll be competing and/or featuring on, or as a supporting character, and possibly only when needed? Go.
Okay, well, wow, my head's spinning after that. Well, I am not quite as omnipresent as John, but tomorrow, tomorrow, very special show on Matt, Boy Who Has Seven's channel. We're going to do a tribute, finish up our tribute to OMG Chris, who passed away a couple weeks ago, and the money that was raised in the benefit auction, we're going to send it to his brother Sean live tomorrow. I think at 2 o'clock Eastern, I want to say.
Yeah, because it showed up on my notification as 1 o'clock, and that'd be Central. So
Central, right? Yeah, so it's 2 o'clock Eastern. So I'm going to be on there. I'm very, very honored to be part of that crew. I mean, I didn't know Chris as well as the other guys, but he was a great inspiration to me. So I'm very honored to be part of that. And I'm not sure exactly how much we raised, but I think it's gonna be a monumental amount. That is going to really help out Sean with the expenses. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. And then, Thursday, of course, I got the roundup. And I think also on Thursday, I'm on Graders Notes. We're going to do What If #1. and we're gonna just slice and dice it to death. So,
Yes.
so join us on that if you really like to get into the nitty gritty of a comic.
Or if you just have 6 hours to kill on a 26-page book, I highly recommend.
It's about an hour and a half.
Deepest of dives.
Yes, it is. It's good stuff though, and especially you guys almost always pick books that are accessible, that most people have a copy of or can get a copy very easily. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good to read. I like reading them before I watch the show and then seeing what you guys thought of them. So
yeah, we try to do it exactly.
But you are the 8th grader. You're the 7th grader. Wait, you are, how many graders do you have on there normally?
4.
You're the 5th grader on the grader's notes. That's it.
The chat is the 5th grader. Yeah. It only took like the 7th time to be the 5th grader, Bub.
You're right. Yeah, sorry, you're the 7th grader on the 5th show for the 3rd time on grader's notes. Catch it at your local. Whose channel is it going to be on this time? You guys move
on mine. It's on mine this time.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, good to have you. Anything else you got going on?
That's about it. Just doing what I do, my 2 or 3 weekly appearances. And, obviously I have to put up with you every Monday other than that, but,
oh, bless your heart. I know it's a struggle.
Oh, Lord. I knew that was coming. I just knew that was coming.
It's a struggle.
But I miss DS. DS, come back, please. Bub is driving me crazy. I need you as a buffer. Come on back. My sanity pleads with you to please come back.
Teetering, isn't it? Well, we're going to try this week. Get our schedules together and do maybe a short episode of No Faces. When DS work schedule clears up, we're gonna see. So DS, if you're watching on Rewind, hit me up and let me know what your schedule this week is, and we'll get with Roger. If Roger's unable to attend, we'll do it without him. But I'm just kidding. I want to get all 3 of us on a show together again, but looks like a lot of this may be coming to an end soon, and we'll all be, back to normal schedules. So hopefully that's the case soon. And if not, then it's not, but we'll do what we can. So we'll get DS back on here to give you a break, Roger. I know it's been extra hard on you.
It has been, it has been.
Bless
not the Corona per se.
No,
it's the lack of DS that has really, hit me hard.
Yeah, sure.
I'm melting like butter. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, what have I got going on my channel?
Nobody asked you that, Bub. I don't know what you're talking about.
I just asked myself. What
I didn't ask you that. Nobody cares about that. They want to go to the next show.
What a nice guy. On my channel, we're gonna have more hauls coming in. I've got 2 to film, 3 actually. One is just gonna be a 1-book haul. So if you see the thumbnail, you're done.
Wow.
But it's so big, I didn't want to muddle it up with anything else. Maybe I'll throw 2 books in there, but probably just 1. So that'll be it. So I'll have hauls the rest of this week, but I'm on a buying hiatus, as they say. So I've not bought a book. This Thursday, it will be a week. I don't know.
Wow. With major withdrawal there.
It's a lot.
Oof.
It's a lot for me. And the last of my packages will probably come in tomorrow. So then I'll really be hurting. So now I'm trying not to buy anything for a couple of weeks. And when you see that 1-book haul, you'll know why. I got to take a break.
Yeah. Understandably, this is a hard time for a lot of people for purchasing stuff. On top of which, obviously, saving up for a grail, like you're talking about. It's been brutal playing on the hunt every 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to buy stuff. I'm like hitting up friends. I'm hitting up friends on IG. Who are like, I know you've got books you want to sell. What do you got?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the hunt because I was thinking of calling Tony this week and telling him, hey, I just got a book I'd love to show and see if I can steal a hunt championship this week.
Do it. Get that briefcase.
Slide in on it. Yeah.
Bring the Jurassic Park briefcase there.
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff, man. Hey, I had an update on that. So I was nobody
asked you that either.
I know. But you mentioned something. I was listening.
Okay, yeah. I opened the door. Okay, go ahead.
So what happened was that I'll give you a real quick rundown. This guy saw me at a convention. He saw my Jurassic Park briefcase, and I had said just the Monday before, if anybody sees this briefcase, it's me because it's one of a kind. He was like, all right. So he saw me at the convention, and he came up to me and he told me that his name was Chris, and he had he didn't have a YouTube channel. He didn't even have a YouTube account. He literally searches for his favorite channels every day to watch the videos he wants to watch, which blew me away. So you talk about sub count. This guy, he can't even leave a like on a video, but he still watches this show.
That's cool.
I thought that was awesome. And then just a couple of weeks ago, he made an account. And he said he made an account just so he could comment on videos. So we're bringing people into the fold.
Awesome.
Glad to have yet another one in the comic book community. So welcome, Chris, to the comic book community. I would highlight his channel, but honestly, I don't remember what it's called. And he has no content anyway. But yeah,
he'll be in a chat. He'll say something in a chat at some point.
Yeah, he'll pop in. So anyway, that's our show for this week. We thank you all for joining us. It's been one heck of a fun time for me. I hope you all enjoyed it too.
Oh, it was a blast. I love it. Great topic again. Great topic.
Yeah. Sorry we missed Steve having those tacticular difficulties.
Steve, please come back next week.
Please. Come back next week. We need him. And we'll catch you guys. Thank you, everybody. Biggie Shack's in the house. Glad to have you. Jambo's here. Sam's Tangled Web. Thanks, Sam, for showing up. All these great people. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. Of course, hey, we had John's Comics with Kids showed up once. I think this is his first time in the chat. Oh wait, I wonder that's got to be a coincidence. That's got to be a coincidence. So, thank you all for joining us. We'll catch you next week on the No Faces Comic Chat.
Maybe
we'll see you later. Goodbye. Read a comic. And be blessed and be back. John doesn't have a sign off. And and don't apologize for the glare. Bye-bye.